Still
A
time?
little bit after 5 o'clock, so I'm going to call us to order. And Summer, if you'll call the roll.
Commissioner Patterson?
Here.
Commissioner Norwood?
Here.
Commissioner Baker?
Here.
Commissioner Roberts?
Here.
Commissioner Stallings? Here. Commissioner Dennis?
Here.
And Mayor Mason?
Here.
All present.
All right. Item number 2 at the Commissioner's request, discuss any item of concern on the regular session agenda. Is there anything anybody wants to discuss that's coming up tonight?
I just wondered why the ADU thing is on there tonight. Is there something going on within our city that,
I'd be happy to answer that.
Sure.
It's something that when we were looking at manufactured housing more than a year ago, I think that finally got approved this time. There's a whole lot of other things we could look at. This is one of those things that other cities have done recently. And so the team, I'm always looking for insightful things to bring to you. So I asked the team to put it together, and Jackie's done that, and I think it'll be an insightful presentation. But I don't know if any of you guys watch TV or actually YouTube. You see that dating site that it's just only lunch. So
Yes.
to me, what this is only a study session. We're just talking about it. We're not committed. We don't have to do anything. We'll get your input, and then but the idea is that it's an accessory dwelling unit. It's something that can that people can put in their yards or convert garages, or I guess they could build stuff. There's things that maybe it's not economical, but when we're talking about housing, a lot of those are used for bringing sometimes family, friends, could be used for other things. But that's generally it, and Jackie can give a presentation, probably tell you more, but she could also tell you we asked her to do it, so.
Didn't Oklahoma City do this?
They made me.
City have a,
I think you had some research, I think Norman did it. Did Oklahoma City do something too? Or?
Yes, Edmond and Tulsa as well.
Yeah, they did.
well, and the reason I was asking is I know there's a lot of people coming in for some projects that are going on at Vance, and then some stuff going on east of town, and they're looking for rentals, and so some people are moving RV trailers into their driveways and into their backyards to move people in. So I didn't know if that was why we were looking at something like this, so.
No, and I don't think that would be in our definition. We do have regulations on that now, I don't recall, but between you and Scott G, you might be able to answer that question.
Okay.
But no, we're talking about something different.
Okay,
Yes, yeah, totally different. Shouldn't actually
No
be happening,
commitments.
but-
all right, thank you.
Anything else? All right. Item 3.1, quarterly VDA update from Mr. Cooper.
All right, good evening, and Rob, I know you've never seen me in a hat, so there is a reason why I have a hat, but it's good to be here. Had a busy first of the year,
thank you.
most of legislative session in Oklahoma, and at the federal level. So there's been a lot going on, but a lot of good things going on. So I'll kind of briefly go through some of those. As you know, we worked very hard to get House Bill 2516 and 18 passed this year. Worked with the Speaker. It was his bill. He put it out there, and it was one to set up a revolving fund to put money in to help us with our 20% match for Eisenhower School. And it was going to be $5 million. So I worked with Senator Gallagher extensively to get that passed through all the various Senate committees. That's where the issues were, but we finally got that resolved and got that passed. So we will receive $5 million to assist with the 20% match, which should be approximately $60 million based on $6 million based on a $30 million project. Now the engineering design is being worked on, so we'll know the final results of that later before the end of the year. The other thing to go along with that, as you know, we had made a commitment from the Military Planning Commission to also give them $1 million. So we've already accrued $750,000. The Military Planning Commission meets this week, and of course we've already worked with George. He's our representative on the OSMPC now. And so what will happen, because we have priorities, we had purchased the land at the southeast end of the runway, outside runway at Vance. It's $200,000. So the submittal this meeting will be $200,000 to pay you back for the $200,000 to purchase that land, and then the remaining $50,000 will go into the pot for that. So now it'll be $800,000 that we have. So we'll be able to finish completion of that in the next budget cycle of next year. So essentially, he's going to have all these dollars. Once he gets the engineering design done, he already has the contractor picked to do that. It'll be Henson Construction. And so as rapidly as we can, once it goes back to DOD, they approve all the design and all of that, then they'll fund it from that fund that Department of Defense has. So that's going to be a great project. I let some of you see the kind of the renderings of that. I know, I think the wing commander saw that as well. So we're very excited about that. The key thing about that revolving fund when we set it up, that it is a revolving fund. The money will go to the Oklahoma Military Department, which is the Guard, the National Guard in the state. It's not that they have anything to do with that. It's just a place for the money to go, and then goes out to us once we get the money. So, but with that kept in place, what can happen is once we determine other priorities to protect and enhance our military bases throughout the state, then we would go to them, try to get them to agree that those were important to the state and the communities and the base, and then they could, if they did approve it, then they could go through legislative session and approve that item in the budget and drop more money in that revolving fund. So you'll see that that'll be made, that's going to a permanent thing. So that'll be there. That's another way that the state assists. And sir, the Military Planning Commission, the way they are funded, they get $1 million a year to assist with seed money on different projects that we do to assist the bases in the state. They have 5 commissioners that sit on that. Each one of them represents one of the military bases in the state, and they always bring priorities, whatever they are. I also work with them, advise them on issues that we may have at the state or federal level, that, like if we need legislation passed or something like that. So I still stay in contact with them quite extensively. So anyway, the school's going to be built, so it'll probably start sometime after the first year, so that's a good thing. So anyway, we look forward to all that. Again, the land purchase, I informed, once we found out about that and we worked through the issues, Mayor, he got all of that done where we could purchase it, and you guys approved the funding. I made sure that the commander at AATC, General Robinson, knew about it all the way, and of course, he would like to be here when we proffer the land. We've given the Air Force dates to do that sometime in October, so we'll see based on his schedule if that can happen. We really want him to be here because he's like our new wing commander. He's a Vance guy, so we want him to be here. It's important, so we'll do that. I had today and this week some great meetings out at base. As you know, we got a new wing commander. They have a new support group commander. Oh, by the way, he's a Vance guy too. So Colonel Jans. And so we talked he calls me. He probably hadn't been here a week, and this is what I like, because I'm a planner. I'm a strategic planner. I want long range goals. Well, he called me. He hadn't been here a week. Says, Coop, I need to talk to you. We have some issues. So they talked about housing overall because of the increased emission and housing, and all of us, I know you can remember, Frank, for 30 years there's been a housing issue, and do we have enough homes for people to stay here? So we met and talked through all those issues. They do have a fire station that needs to be replaced, got mold and things like that. So that's another MilCon project, but there are also some other ways we may figure out to be able to get things like that done. But what I like is and I told the new wing commander that my job is to always understand what your priorities are, and then we try to work from the local and the state and the federal level as much as we can to help you accomplish that. So anyway, we had some great meetings. Look forward to working with you, and so we'll move forward. There was another bill this session, Senate Bill 893, and you've probably heard about it, about not allowing foreign adversaries to purchase land in Oklahoma, particularly around our military installations. So we took that bill all the way through sessions, made all the changes that we did, changed it from just a 10-mile radius around the bases to what I called at least the military operating areas, because it would cover all the areas that there was some discussion about doing statewide, but they came down on military operating areas. Well, because there's legislation trying to happen at the federal level on that, they thought they would wait a year and wait and see if something happens at the federal level, because it's easier to do something like that from the federal level and have one, here's how we're doing it in the U.S., as opposed to have 50 versions of how to do that. So we'll see what happens, but I think you'll see Oklahoma will go ahead and pass that if it doesn't happen at the federal level. So
What group is that that's opposed to doing that statewide?
It's interesting. A lot of industry is, because a lot of it gives them a lot of, they think, harsher regulation on requirements on the people they hire or not. It was a lot of industry that was opposed to it, because if you put those restrictions on there, then it's the type of material that you would use. Say if you had weather radars or any of that kind of stuff, and it was great restrictions on not only buying land, but also purchase of material that built things like at control towers or weather radars or anything like that, that they were going to restrict that. Or you couldn't have people that, didn't have the right credentials to work on that stuff, and like communications, power grid, different things like that.
So it went farther than just the purchase of land.
It was. So anyway, we'll see how that goes, and and because of that, I think next time you'll see it just stay to the purchase of foreign land, as opposed to the issues about all the material that's purchased from foreign entities. Because a lot of the things, especially communication-wise and others, computers and things like that, most of the material is from China. So, and China is one of the countries that would be on the list. So anyway, that's where that's at. Now, y'all know on the Milcon project, our priority is the squad ops facility. You'll see, I'm sure this fire station will eventually come up. That's going to be a priority too. But we do have the $8.9 million. The Corps, the Corps of Engineers now has those dollars to start the engineering design. We originally thought that would be completed, all the engineering design, by sometime next March or April, and be at certain percent design before the end of this year. Well, after they get it, plus their missions are changing and their requirements are changing, so they're having a meeting in October, as I understand, to kind of discuss, well, okay, we got the money to engineering design this thing, well, what does it really need to be? We have pressed on the Corps, and our congressional delegation has too, that, well, okay, we know you guys are the experts, you have to figure that out, but we also hope there's a better timeline than finish it, instead of 300 days, they were talking over 600 days to complete, which would have meant 27 to be complete. Now I think it's probably going to be somewhere in 26 late, probably, to be able, but our folks will, at least insist that can it be done as quickly as you can. So anyway, that's why, because it allows us to do things our congressional delegation wants to help. If it's not in the regular program budgeted item, then it can be considered for a congressional ad if it's in their FIDEP and all that, their 5-year plan. So we work through that, and I tell you that because that's how all of our projects have been done. The couple of handfuls of projects we've had since '95, all of them have been done that way. We haven't had any regular program budget item. Why we would like to have one, but so anyway, that's why we worry about those things, about getting it to certain percent design. And I had those conversations with the wing commander. Of course, they need it, so they know it. They need it, would like to have it before the T7, so they understand that as well. So we'll continue to work on that. It was really good because I met with him at 9 o'clock in the morning yesterday, and at 10 o'clock, all of our congressional military legislative aides were here. So they got to hear every priority that might have been concern or whatever from him, the new wing commander, and so he now has that relationship starting with all our congressional delegations, so it was good. Senator Mullins, MLA, was not here, but he's going to be here next week, and I'll come back and be with him then as well. Again, we talked about the proffer land. We'll do that. We've got a couple of conferences that are coming up. The Association of Defense Communities at the national level. It's similar to VDA and OSMP, but it's the national organization. If you remember, I chaired that organization for 3 years. Well, the conference that they have, it's called Installation Innovation. They beat all the Department of Defense leaders, all the service leaders, all the folks that we work with to do the things we do in our communities. They're all there. and the OL Office of Local Defense Community Cooperation people are there. All the folks that we deal with on DSIP or any other thing are there. So, and the mayor and I are going to do that. That's in October. And then in September, the Air Force Association Annual Conference and Cyber Warfare Conferences in September in DC, and I'll attend that, and that's the one, as the ones that you're familiar with this, that's the one where all the Air Force leadership is there. So anything and everything that they're planning or organizing for the future that impacts us, that's why you go to that. So that's what we'll be doing. The bad news was the DSIP projects that we had funded. One was a water line to replace that, the redundancy, but get rid of the old galvanized pipe. And then we had a power issue, resiliency issue that we're working on that really needs to be completed. It would help us create a new substation and then tie the 3 substation, one on the east side, the new one on the west, and then tie it into Vance, which would mean that if any one of them got knocked out totally, then they would still, everywhere would still work because we would tie them all together. Well, that we didn't get approved. It's not a bad thing. Doesn't mean you can't do it again. Doesn't mean there's not other ways. In fact, the mayor and I, we're going to have some meetings with a couple of the corporation commissioners to talk about some other issues about that, because I think there are other ways that can be done and some relief that can be had, because that, again, is not a project just important to him. It's actually important safety thing for Enid as well. So I think we'll be able to work through that. Other than that, unless you've got any questions, our plate's pretty full, but we'll continue to do that. And then if we have certain priorities that we think are important next year, I'll be working with the association or the OSMPC, and then if we all decide, I'll work with leadership if projects are important. Maybe we slide some other issues like the power issue and others, because all of the bases have that need. So it may be something that we go back to them for additional funding through that revolving fund that we created where we got money for Eisenhower. So unless any of you have any questions, that's kind of my report.
Anything?
And again, we're excited to have the new wing commander here. So
Absolutely. Coop, thank you so much for giving us update and for everything that you do.
okay.
Done so much for our community and to help build that relationship between Vance and the city. So thank you. And are you hanging around for?
No, I've got something I've got to be at. So
Okay.
I tell Carol I'm sorry I couldn't be here.
Okay, that's what I was getting at. All right.
Okay, all right.
Very good. Safe travels.
You're going to run into some storms, just so you know. I
I
just
know.
got an alert on my phone.
We're in Oklahoma,
Yeah, I
right?
know. At least he's got a hat on.
Good to see you.
All right, 3.2, discuss accessory dwelling units, ADU regulations. And Jacqueline, I think this is you.
Yes, it is. I hope the weather's not too close because my windows are rolled down. So I'll make this quick.
Got time.
All right. So good evening, Mayor and Board of Commissioners. Jacqueline Porter, Community Development Director. I'll be sharing information on accessory or auxiliary dwelling units, also referred to as ADUs. We'll cover what they are, their benefits, common concerns, and the types of regulations that can be used to guide the developments of the ADUs. All right. So what the current definitions that the City of Enid has is for accessory structures, which is a building, structure, or a use that is subordinate to the main building and located on the same lot as the main building. And then we have dwellings. So the ADU, so the accessory and the dwelling. A dwelling is defined as any building or portion thereof which is designed or used for living quarters of one or more families, not including housing trailers. So what is an ADU? The American Planning Association defines an ADU as a smaller independent residential unit located on the same lot as a single-family home. It can be attached to the main house, situated above a garage, or built as a detached structure in the backyard. They are designed to be self-contained, meaning they include only a kitchen, bathroom, and living space. So what is and what isn't an ADU? An ADU is a legal permitted secondary dwelling unit that is located with the local building and zoning rules. What it is not is an informal, unpermitted rental or subdivision of a lot. There are not sheds in the backyard without necessary items to be considered habitable. The code department should be involved in the assistance with creating a safe and habitable dwelling unit. So it can't be a shed that you're just put a futon in and be like, you can live here. That's not what the intent is. So, types of ADUs. ADUs go by many different names throughout the U.S., including accessory apartments, secondary suites, your mother-in-law suites, and granny flats. ADUs come in several forms. ADUs can be built as an addition to new or existing homes, which is your attached ADUs, these bad boys right here. And then, or there's the conversion of existing portions of the main house with the finished basements, attics, which separate entrances to them. And then you have your new standalone accessory structures or converted portions of existing standalone accessory structures, like this garage. They're considered your detached ADUs. Or they're also considered your small cottages being converted as well. The flexibility in design allows property owners to choose what best fits their needs and the character of their neighborhoods. It's coming in, isn't it? All right, why build an ADU? There are many reasons communities encourage ADUs. All ADU types have the potential to increase housing affordability by creating a diversified range of housing options within the community, enabling seniors to stay near families as they age, also called aging in place, allowing adult children or caregivers to have an independent living on the same property, and workforce housing for essential workers to afford living options close to their jobs. The potential benefits of the increase in the housing affordability are not just for the tenants, it is also your property owners. By increasing the property values, by adding a legal rentable space, supplying a supplemental income, and facilitating better use of the existing housing fabric in your established neighborhoods. Land use efficiency by using existing lots and infrastructure rather than expanding into undeveloped areas is considered gentle density and reduces urban sprawl by supporting sustainable development. Another reason is for the stability of your neighborhoods by enabling long-term residents to stay in their communities despite the changes that life brings them. So here are some examples of ADU communities. ADUs can be seen in cities across the country, such as Portland, Seattle, and Austin, which have embraced ADUs as a housing strategy. These communities have adopted zoning codes, streamlined permitting, and provided homeowner guidance to encourage the development. However, it is not just individual cities in the United States, there are also states with strong statewide laws that have allowed ADUs legal by right in residential zone districts like California, Oregon, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, and Massachusetts. The state laws for each of these vary, allowing ADUs in residential zones by a quota, or they establish a maximum number allowed in a certain time frame, to requiring local governments to allow ADUs just altogether. Now in Oklahoma, there are currently 4 cities, Norman, Oklahoma City, Edmond, and Tulsa, that have ADUs. So, what are the concerns? So the most common concerns that are brought up for ADU discussions are the impacts and the characters of the neighborhood, and the increasing the density, creating an increase in in nuisances like noise, light, air, etc., and the invasion of privacy by decreasing separation requirements per dwelling, particularly between the main house and the ADU on the same lot. The increase in density raises concerns about the impact on aging infrastructure like your sewer, water, power, and roads. The increase in density brings an increase in traffic flow as well, which can lead to longer wait times at stop signs and lights and causes the streets to be busier and less safe for children to play outside. In conjunction with traffic, your parking concerns impact as well due to the increase in on-street parking when the off-street parking is no longer available or sustainable for the additional dwellings on the lot. There are also the concerns that due to the increase in traffic, there's an increase in noise pollution, which also impacts the neighborhood. So another concern, not so much on neighborhoods, is also the concerns that is the lack of regulations on ADUs. There will be a saturation in the rental market, leading to some rentals being harder to fill and affecting cost. There are concerns that ADUs may not always lead to a return on investment or even decrease property values in certain areas. The concerns, the impact on the property ownership experience due to the inconvenience and the mess associated with constructions at the ADUs. Not only does the cost of that in this, it's also the challenges and complexities set forth by zoning and regulations create frustrations for a property owner. These concerns are all valid. They can be managed through careful planning, thoughtful design, and community engagement. So, what do these regulations and restrictions look like? Our tools to address the concerns that were previously mentioned, which are drafted through community engagement with a focus on thoughtful design, careful planning for the neighborhoods. Most ADUs are governed by zoning ordinances that are outlined with your dimensional standards, so your height, lot coverage, and setbacks, your design standards, which ensures new units complement the main house and your neighborhood character, and then your permitted use or use by review options. Some areas allow ADUs outright, while others have special approvals. So, breaking these down a little bit, your dimensional standards are used to regulate the height, lot coverage, such as ensuring that the ADU is no larger than the area of a house, so they can only be a certain percentage of your backyard, those kind of things to make sure that you're not making a same size and just making a bunch of houses look the same with setbacks nearby. So this is kind of what it looks like from a plot plan on your dimensionals. You have your setbacks here, distance to create that where you don't have your rooftops on top of each other, and then the distance from the primary structure. These are just options of where they can be located. They can be strictly only in the rear yard or in a side yard situation. This is an example I pulled from another city. So then you have your design standards. So it varies with each community, ranging from street and parking designs, your landscaping, your building, just to name a few. So these next few slides are a little bit in depth, has a lot on there. Mostly this is on the planning side what we look into. So it shows the requirements met for these communities with your parking requirements that is not allowed through here, and some of them are established over on the side. Those are things that were required by these cities, including the landscaping. So with that, floor plans are also can be regulated on the amount of square footage and how many bedrooms are allowed. The city of Sacramento, California, has pre-approved floor plans that can, if they do it this way, they can go ahead and build it, and these are what they look like, and these are going to be smaller than the primary structure. So, permitted use or a use by review. Permitted use would allow ADUs as a use by right in specific zoning districts with an approval process that involves an administrative review of the application to meet adopted regulations and standards. Use by review only allows ADUs in specific zoning districts that require additional reviews and approvals than from the administrative approval process by a designated board or boards. So like your planning commission or mayor and board of commissioners like you all, if established. The use by review process usually consists of a public hearing, a discussion of potential impacts to the surrounding areas, and ensuring that the proposed use aligns with the zoning objectives and the comprehensive plan that is adopted by the city. So, with all that, what would an ADU look like in Enid? So first, the city's current zoning districts that allow for dwelling units are your agriculture districts, and there are 8 residential zone districts that are ranging from R1 to R7. Your agriculture zoning district is the city's largest tract of land that requires to be 5 acres or more under one ownership. Your R1 is just a step down from the agricultural district with a minimum of ½ acre, and the design and dimension standards with considerable distance to maintain a suburban feel being there of the urban fringe between agriculture and your urban design. Your R2s through R4s are the more restrictive districts with low to medium density of your population, with small lots, with one structure for dwelling units, so you have your single families and your duplexes. Your R4As through R7s are the zoning districts that are your medium to high density in population, allowing for a wide range of dwelling units from single families to multifamily and garden apartment uses. Note that your RR6 is a mobile home park district, so that we wouldn't consider for ADUs there. That's just thrown in there since we're going numerically on everything. So let's imagine ADUs being permitted as a use by right in the city of Enid for the large tract of land zoning districts to allow for mother-in-laws, family, or friends to live in a separate space but live in a close proximity to each other. The impacts of traffic density and nuisances are reduced due to the design and dimensional regulations and standards for those zoning districts. As previously mentioned, the intent of ADUs is not to be subdivided from the tract of land in which they are built. So even in the future, we would not want them to be separated, increasing that high density. For the most restrictive single structure zoning districts, so your R2s through your R4s, a use by review to ensure that there are no impacts to the neighborhoods and in line with the community's projected desire as set forth in the comprehensive plan. Currently, the MAPC is the current board that hears and reviews the proposed uses set forth by the zoning districts to be reviewed. So for the zoning districts that are allowed for a diversity of residential developments, we would enable ADUs to be prevented by right. So as a note, this is just conceptual and broad views of ADUs. If the commission wishes to proceed with ADUs as an option to allow in the community, there will be more detailed regulations and guidelines. Are there any questions?
I have a question.
Go for it.
How does an HOA fit in that?
So HOAs will have their own covenants, and then they will enforce their own. This will be for the city, so an HOA is more specific. So they would have to govern if they allow ADUs or not.
So the HOA would have to approve it. You can't go around an HOA and do this.
Correct. Yes. So if your HOA says no extra dwellings or anything like that, you would have to go through them first as well.
So as you guys have started the research on this, and it sounds like in a lot of cities it's been tremendously successful, or is it still such a new initiative, hard to judge?
So California, most of your higher density population states, so California, New York, those that are already built out, they're trying to do that infill. So they've been doing it for a while. Mm-hmm. California has been very successful. That's also why they push for a statewide for ADUs.
Okay.
So.
This is just, again, these are concepts, kind of fulfilling what we talked about a year ago. I think it could be a good concept. this is just a concept. It doesn't have to be this way. It could all be used by review or not at all. I mean, so it's a good time to ask questions. You may have your constituents, you may want to talk to them. Could it help solve some of the housing issues? Maybe. Because if you bring your mother-in-law home or a family member to live in one of these, then they're not living in the house across the street or across town, which would free up a unit theoretically. So there are reasons. I know they could be rented. Certainly there might be people with profit motives. I think some motives are just a desire to live closer together with friends and family. So please ask your questions. Jackie's done a lot of research, and I appreciate your efforts on this.
We do have a few of these in town. I've seen them. But like you said, in California, when I went out to LA, there are a lot. They're everywhere.
Yes.
Well, I think their housing has gotten so expensive out there that many people can't afford the house up front, is what it amounts to, and has to rent something in the back. But I do think this is something we probably ought to think about, because we definitely have a housing shortage, and it's going to get worse as we continue to talk to the base. Coop and I had this conversation today. We talk about the T1s leaving, and I'm not going to get out in front of you, but at the same time, there's stuff leaving, but there's going to be 30% more personnel coming in. So while we have a problem right this minute for housing, it doesn't get better. It gets worse. So we're going to have to look at some alternatives. Jacqueline, whenever you back up to the one where it talked about permitted by right,
This one or this one?
right there on the very bottom, you said, I think the R6 was the mobile homes. So permitted by right, and I guess I was looking or thinking about something else, but they would not be able to do that, right?
Correct.
Okay, so
Yeah,
what does
'cause
that mean, permitted by right?
So being permitted by right is that they just need to submit a building permit to us, and it would be administratively reviewed to make sure whatever is adopted, we make sure it doesn't impact infrastructures and those kind of things, and meets parking regulations, that we have those. Whatever we set forth administratively, we'll check.
Okay, all right.
And also, another thing that's a positive in this is our ad valorem taxes, because it's going to increase the property tax because the value of the properties are going to increase. So in that aspect of it, I mean, there's a plus there as well. And like you said,
If we got any of it.
that'd be nice.
Yeah.
It would really be
No,
nice.
no.
So if we can maximize the usage of the land, that's good. But you're right, if the state does that, that would be great.
And I was reading on the plot plan, but I just thought we might make this for people that are out in TV world, that you cannot do this in a front yard.
Yes, in most cases, you can't. So I'll use an example. Let's see. So this one, it's flush with the current structure. So it is on the building line. This is your accessory right over here. So it's flush. It looks the same. The front building line's uniformed. You wouldn't want it in front of it. Those would still have to meet the regular building lines, and that can vary with however we want. If we want it to, we can establish and say you can't go exceed that front building line, so we can never be in front of the primary structure ever.
What other questions, comments, concerns?
Obviously, sizes of the lot would impact what people could do too. So,
Yes.
but through regulation, you could control that. If you don't like that, accessory buildings that aren't living units are required to be secondary units, and they have to be, is it behind the back
Behind the
line of the property?
rear wall of the structure. So.
It isn't lost on us that we're not Austin, Texas. We're not Sacramento, California. We're Enid. And so our vision of this, we would not deploy ADUs as aggressively design-wise or ordinance-wise as as some of our contemporaries. Because we're Enid, Oklahoma, we want to be in more control of how this goes and what it looks like. At least that's our philosophy if we proceed conservative, cautious.
Well, I sure think we need to explore this further. I think it could be a very important outlet and assistance.
Is there a limit to how many people can live within ADUs?
No, well, it varies, and it's dependent on what each community prefers, so.
I think that may be subject to regulation too. I want to say there's a limit already of 5 people that aren't related by blood. You could obviously have more, I guess you could have more if they're blood relatives or something. I don't know, that's what I'm recalling, but there may be some ways, to research it. If we look at this further, we would probably work on a draft ordinance with the city attorney, and at some point, after we think we've vetted that pretty good, we'd bring it back for another study session, subject to, change. We don't want to do anything to upset the apple cart, whatever that means. My mom and dad used to say that. You probably do too. But it could help in certain situations. I don't see a whole lot of people running out to build these. I think they would probably look at converting structures that they have, and sometimes that could be problematic because they're going to have to meet code standards, whatever the current standards are. So I think it could help some. I don't know how much. I don't want to oversell it. And I also know we got to be very careful about what areas we would even, there may be some residential zoning areas you don't want to allow it at all. That could be studied further. Or maybe you want it all by use by review. But we're prepared. You've got us off to a good start. We probably need to take some time, so we wouldn't be coming right back at the next meeting, unless this is a huge priority, because we've got some others. But this would be something that we would probably bring back maybe in a couple of months or so after we've had time to work on it some more.
Yes.
And give our new city attorney a little more time this is your 3rd week on the job, right?
Just throw her to the fire.
And like you said, Gerald, just one other thing I'd like to bring up is our ordinance with stormwater runoff, with the engineers department. It's going to kind of regulate itself. It's going to govern itself because some areas we don't want it. I know Commissioner over there, Stallings, he knows better than I do as an engineer. We don't want flooding. So it's going to regulate itself as well.
Okay.
Any other comments? Jacqueline, thank you so much. Very informative. Item 3.3, update on Enid Walking Trails projects. Jason?
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. Thanks for having me tonight. Tonight I'm going to go over a couple of projects just quickly. The Prairie View Trail project and also the Base Trail. Quick reminder, the Prairie View Trail is funded by 80-20 match with ODOT. The project cost was 1.3, basically 1.4, and the TAP program provided 1.2, with the city providing about 300 to it. Right now, the project's currently under construction. We've had some utility conflicts come up during construction, which has caused some delays to the project. We've spoke with the contractor to get them rerouted to be working on the project in other locations while we wait for the utility to relocate their stuff. The project is located along Willow, the north side of Willow, on the east side of Oakwood, which travels to the Prairie View Elementary School. I really like this project because this is a big connector, or connects to a big connection of trail systems on that part of town. So right now, a teacher at Prairie View could walk all the way down to, well, once Cleveland's completed, they would be able to walk all the way down to the Walmart or to Holdings gas station at Cleveland and Chestnut. So connects about 3 miles of total trail system together. So. Other project that we got in the works right now is the Base Trail project. It will be funded through ODOT, through the TAP program as well. I think it's a 75-25 match. 1.7 total is the estimate currently right now, with 1.4 being covered by TAP and the city covering the rest. The project, some of you may recall, was designed, the design was complete a few years ago to City of Enid standards. Since we found some TAP funding, the plans needed to be adjusted to meet the ODOT standards. And so right now, that's where those plans currently are. They're getting updated to meet the ODOT standards. That trail will tie into the south side of Meadow Lake Park.
Richland.
Richland, thank you, Ann, it's right there. Richland, along Richland and Taylor, behind the old drive-in movie theater, travels down Taylor, down to Southgate, and then moves down Southgate to Kincaid Road, and then on down to the base entry. This, again, kind of another one that I'm pretty proud of because it connects two large segments of trail together to where this is going to be about 1.5 miles, 2 miles.
As we work on that, I know we'd be coordinating with Vance, because at some point that's going to stop at your outside gate somewhere. And so we'd bring people right to your gate, and then we could probably give you some suggestions on how to process them, but it might be better if you handle that, checking them coming through.
At that gate, there's that parking lot and
Okay.
welcome center area. That's where our target is, to get to there. Not really to encourage people to go on in, but to get to that point. So that's great. Yep. But those are the two trails that are on discussion tonight. If there's any questions or concerns or anything.
How much longer do you think it's going to take for ODOT to modify the plans to meet the TAP requirements?
We're hiring we've hired an engineer to make the changes to.
We're doing that?
We're doing that ourselves. I don't want to venture a number, but I guess maybe a month, 2 months to make those changes to get them up to speed to what they need to be.
Do we have the easements going down through all this so far?
We do not have them all, no.
Okay. Okay.
A couple of them, it's not so much that they're easements. The right-of-way is there. There's just some property that is extended into, that's encroached into the right-of-way that needs to be relocated, and we're working with property owners to get that stuff relocated.
And then once we get those plans, I mean, will that start in '26?
Yeah, I think so.
That's the right answer.
Well, I don't know. I can't say yes for sure because ODOT is kind of their own little, I don't say world, but they control their systems on when things are let and when things are let go. And since they're providing a substantial amount of the funding, it's going to go through their letting system, and wherever that falls, I'm not sure exactly how that will fall. But as we sit now, I would expect it to be let in.
So that'll be more, that'll be an ODOT project then, right?
Correct, sir. Yeah.
Not a City of Enid project.
Yes, yeah.
Per se.
Yeah, which is the
Okay.
same.
All right, that makes sense.
The ODOT TAP program is the same funding as what Prairie View Trail is, and that's the same funding that is the Cleveland Widening Project. ODOT controls the funds. We put our share in, and they run the project inspection and construction management.
Okay.
Did it look like the other trails?
Yes.
Out there as well?
Yeah.
About how wide? I mean,
10 foot.
10 feet.
Yep. Yep.
I've received quite a few questions from constituents, especially on the Prairie View Trail. And I know there are this was great information, thank you. I know there are lots of pieces to come into place and funding, but do you have any guesstimate of when this project would be complete?
Right now, the timeline that we got from the utility company was 60 to 90 days to do before they can do their relocate of their utility.
Okay.
So obviously, I hope that the plan is that it will be completed up to that point in that amount of time. And then once that's done, then the contractor can come in and complete that. Obviously, we expect this was planned to be done right about now, originally, through scheduling, but here we are. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a long-winded question. So being that school just started and that last little portion there is the walkway to school for most of the children. I guess people don't understand the thought process that goes behind when we decide to do projects, why we waited until school started, why are we doing that section right now? Can you guys just explain that to the public so that they don't think that you guys don't know what you're doing?
That's a really good question.
It's a very good question. The thought process on the development of this project was the two key points on this project that need to be completed that cause the most disruption to school were the crossings at where the creeks cross. There's one on one side of Constitution and one on the other side, if I'm remembering the streets correctly. Those are where those pinch points are. As work continued, that was just going to get tighter and tighter. Our goal was to complete those first and then move over to the west side and start working east. The utility conflicts came in at those two creek crossings. And so that kind of, the crews that were going to come in and do the concrete work as part of they were sub to the main contractor. They weren't scheduled to jump over to the other side. And so that was kind of the delay in them getting here when they were supposed to be here. So
I guess people are like, why wasn't this started right when school ended and worked on during this?
Let me jump in there and try to help you too. This project has been, to be frank, has been years in the making. Unfortunately, it takes a long time to get projects done. People don't have any idea what projects cost either, so I'm glad that you got to see the cost of the trail. One's 1.7 and the other is 1 point something. So the timing actually it was going to, if everything had come together, it was actually going to start towards the end of the last school year, which was earlier this year, I think in February, but I think we got delayed by the ODOT letting schedule, then the utility conflicts come up. So we actually did try to plan to hit some of those targets. Our challenge is that things don't always work out the way that we would like them to. And so what we would ask people to do is to try to have understanding as we improve the city. There's going to be some inconvenience, but we got to think about the end. So we really do try to put some thought into it. Unfortunately, many times things seem to conspire outside of our control, or even if it's in our control. So we really do, but I will take any of those people that really know how to schedule things. If they want to come, we have some job openings. I think we could use some help in engineering. I'm happy to put them on the spot.
They love that.
Thank you.
Just remind everybody that orange is the color of advancement, of getting things done. So every time you see those orange cones, thank our engineers. That's a good deal.
Yeah.
It's good. Progress, right, Jason?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's what we're going with.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions on the trails? I'll be anxious to see those done. I think we all really like the trails. So 3.4, update on ODEQ Drinking Water State Revolving Fund projects. Jason, this is you as well.
There's me again. Thank you. So quick update on the OWRB drinking water state run. What? Yeah, that there. All those words. Drinking Water State Revolving Fund project. So if just a reminder to y'all that this is when we discuss the $4 million loans, that's what this group of projects is represented by. The OWRB drinking water, we get loans of about $4 million every year or so. And this is a group of projects that we've got on the last loan number 7. These include East Cherokee Avenue water line, West Main, which also includes South Hays and parts of Cherokee, project on South Van Buren, and then a group of projects over along East Olive, East Cottonwood, and East Hickory. First project that I'll talk about is the Cherokee project, which is from the 700 block to the 2000 block of East Cherokee. The project contract value is $1.3 million. Right now the project is sitting about 95% complete. The contractor should be wrapping it up fairly quickly. Second project, as I discussed, is the West Main, which is this top portion right here that runs, so basically Johnson to Hayes, and then it runs down Hayes to Cherokee, and then Cherokee over to, I believe that is Garfield, if I remember correctly. The project was $428,000, and right now it is in pre-construction. This project was, the low bid on this project was a contractor on another project, so they're finishing that project before they start this one. The South Van Buren project, which is between the 700 and 800 block of South Van Buren, which is Wabash and Indiana, is $370,000. That project, we have, or this portion of the water lines, we've got a lot of, it's an older section and it's constantly breaking, constant leaking. And so we're going to relocate the water line that is under Van Buren outside from underneath the roadway. This project is also still in pre-construction for the same reason as before. And the contractors got working on one of the other projects. The East Olive project, between the 100 block and the 400 block, which is Grand and 4th Street. $475,000. The project is about 25% complete. This project relocating the existing water line basically out from where it is, out from underneath Olive along there. East Cottonwood, same area, 100 to 200 blocks, $222,000. It's about 99% complete. You can see some of the pictures. All the pictures that we got here are kind of the finished work of the project. It's relocating the water line from the north side of the road to the south side of the road. And then 100 to 400 blocks of East Hickory Avenue. Waterline project, $461,000. It's about 90% complete. I believe that we're down to about 2 or 3 tie-ins for that project to be wrapped up, and then doing some service line connections, and it'll be done. Here's a breakdown of all the projects as a whole to see the linear feet and the number of water meters that we've touched. For this $4 million group of projects, it actually came in a little under 3.2 or 3.3 neighborhood. There's 333 water meters along that section, and so we've improved the water service to those to 330.
All those are new meters that we put in.
Yeah, and they'll be touched by that, and so that many services. And then the other thing that Morali did not want me to forget to bring up, but all of these projects were done by in-house design. So our engineers done all this group of projects, and so we designed them and bid them and managed them. So
Wasn't that the project also that we can possibly get some forgiveness on that loan, I believe?
I believe so, Aaron. Can you give us the good news on that? We may not have gotten it yet.
It's $1.1 million in forgiveness on this loan.
So when things cost $4 million, we have to be very creative and resourceful and look for as much help as we can get. So that's one of the, first of all, we would have had to fund this with a loan probably anyway to take a chunk of $3 or $4 million. But when they give us $1.1 million, it really makes it a deal. And I think we took it out on a short term. Was it a loan length, 5 years or 4 years? So yes. So it's a great deal for the city. And I do want to say, and we're going to talk about a couple more projects, but I believe city staff is busting their tails getting projects done. And we're doing it with, we have limited funds, and we're doing it based on the priorities that you have set through the budget, and then as we go throughout the year. And so thank you. I think that's very notable. By doing this in-house, outside engineering firms charge a lot of money.
Yeah.
And guess what happens? You, in-house engineering, still has to oversee it, so it takes time. So it takes time to design it, so it was a great effort. Appreciate that. I know there's going to be some questions, but then I also want to talk about, because I know Commissioner Roberts, we talked about, I want to talk about our process to try to let the public know what we're doing. Because I know we don't always do a good job of connecting with everybody, but we're certainly trying. So why don't you tell them what our process is to let people know?
So the kind of the standard typical process for like a water line, for instance, is so at the time a project starts, when we provide a notice to proceed to the contractor, at the same time, that's when we put out the press release. And then we put the obligation on the contractor to either hang door knockers or do, some kind of notes to the residents along that project. And then furthermore, if there's going to be any kind of direct impact to a resident, i.e. a water shut off or a driveway closed, or there's going to be a piece of equipment setting, in your front yard, that is also the obligation of the contractor to let that resident know. Usually our typical process on press releases is, as I mentioned, when the notice to proceed is given to the contractor, usually we like that to go out at least 48 hours in advance of the project happening. When we start talking about projects with some larger impacts, road closures or some significant water outages or anything of that nature, that's when we start trying to push that up to at least a week in advance to let the public know.
So I want to say again, we go out of our way to try to make an effort. I realize we don't get everybody. The contractors may not get everybody because people like us work or have other things going on, so they may not be home, or the door knocker may not have been left or what have you. So I do know that part of that effort is those big signs that
Oh, yeah, thank you. I forgot to mention that as well. Yeah, that's also a requirement to the contractors that we put on the project. Is most projects will have two signs at the beginning and the ending, or towards the mid, in places where we feel like the most traffic will be able to view it. It's going to have the project name, usually who the contractor is, and then where the funding source is. And I think it hasn't been standard, but it's going to become standard, is us putting an estimated completion date or estimated construction timeline on it from the future. But yeah.
Any other questions or comments on that? That's a lot of projects going on, isn't it? A lot of projects. I tell you what.
Yeah, this wasn't my hour-long presentation, so this is just this.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, the skim of the surface.
I just love it whenever I hear people go, y'all aren't doing anything.
Come to.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And convey that to the entire team.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. 3.5, update on the relocation of the Chisholm Trail Monument to Government Springs Park. Corey?
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. I'm just going to give you a quick update on a really exciting project that I got the privilege to work on here. As most of you know, there's a Chisholm Trail Monument at just north of Carrier Road on Highway 81. On it'd be the northwest corner, basically, of Highway 81 and Carrier Road. We are going to be moving that monument to Government Springs Park. And that is going to be on the south side of the park, just right by the highway there, right behind the museum, the Cherokee Strip Museum. We've got a base already poured and ready to go there. This project is going to take place, there's a picture of the monument, it's a really pretty monument. This is going to take place on Tuesday, September the 9th. We're going to get that moved, and we've already got a base poured at the location, which my picture didn't make it on there. We've already got a nice base poured, a nice new concrete base ready to go. So September 9th, and as most of you know, the Government Springs Park was a watering hole for the cattle drivers on the Chisholm Trail, so I think that's really neat. It fits.
You know, and I might say, Corey, that Mike Clemmy had actually come to us. I think most everybody in here knows Mike, and his dad was really involved in some of the,
He put out, his dad was a history buff, and he put out, I don't know how many hundreds of Chisholm
Yeah.
Trail markers from all through Oklahoma, Texas, and Kansas.
concrete post identifying exactly where that trail went.
Yeah.
And it was just, not a lot of people were seeing that, and it wasn't being taken care of out
Yeah,
there.
it was really bad.
Belonged to the state. It was the state's responsibility. So anyway, we talked for a long time, looked at multiple locations, felt like this probably was the best. I mean, it kind of went back to where they actually did water their cattle.
Yeah.
You know, so it kind of made sense. And so anyway, all that being said, that's where that thing's going to go. And I think the public will be able to enjoy that and see it and realize how much history come through Enid. How many, I mean, the amount of cattle that used to come through here.
The names,
So-
you can see all the names on the backside there. There's cattle organizations with so many names that people just don't see right now.
And I want to say, I don't remember who the group was that dedicated, but that was about 1945 they did that. So any history buffs out there, you know, some of us weren't around in 1945, but we know our history, we know what happened. But long before that, the Chisholm Trail. So you might tell them you've got, you're not going to just move out there with your pickup truck and try to pick
We're hiring somebody to do this one, so we got the big haulers coming in to do this for us. But we'll be on site watching, taking lots of pictures and videos. So.
Well, and the cool thing about this, as a kid, I was raised up at Kremlin, just north of Highway 81, and this used to be a real spot where people would go for photos. As a kid, you would drive by in it because it was just really like one of the monuments in the region to celebrate the Cherokee Strips and the Chisholm Trail. So I think it's cool we're doing this. Yeah, little piece of history.
Do we have a date on that when we think? Okay.
September 9th, 8 a.m. sharp.
September 9th.
Very cool, very cool.
So I understand the gate's locked.
Yes, there is a chain.
Perhaps you could help us, Mayor, in getting that gate unlocked the day before at least?
I think I can get it unlocked. Yeah. Okay.
That's funny.
Well, thank you for
Yes.
staying on that.
Oh,
I know
I'm
that's
excited about this one.
what I thought was going to be a 30-day project turned into.
Yeah, it's been in the
a long
works for
time.
quite a while.
Yeah, so, anyway, all right. Any other questions?
Are you going to have any lights?
Not
Eventually.
currently. There's none in the plans, I don't believe. But
Not currently, but it's something that could be considered for the future.
I think that'd make it look nice
Yeah, it
at
would.
nighttime.
And there's
Lights
solar
shine
options.
At it.
It's a cool monument.
yeah.
We did already in placing the base there. We fixed some of the sidewalks around there so that it's ADA accessible, and so it is ready. But that might be a good improvement to look at after we get her in place.
And our last item on our study session today, 3.6, update on the Jerry Allen Memorial Skate Jams Park. So,
I'll stay up.
I'm going to go ahead and kick it off. I appreciate Corey, taking the lead on this. The Jerry Allen Memorial Skate Park, we talked about, it's been quite a while now, more than a year ago. Jerry's passed away maybe 2 years ago. As many of you know, he was a longtime public servant, served at least 1 or 2 terms on the city commission, et cetera. Perpetual park board guy. So through the effort of several individuals, I see one of them here is former Commissioner Keith Saragusa. I know Commissioner Baker, and former Commissioner Ron Jansen. You guys are kind of my committee, my project team that I'm going to look to. Corey's going to be the guy that helps get stuff done, but the general concept on this, I think, has been somewhat determined. And Commissioner Saragusa, would you like to come up and just, I know you get emotional, so maybe I don't want you to. Yeah, so this concept of this rendering is, I think maybe Tox Murillo came up with this. There's some thought put into who might be able to do it. But one of the things from the city's perspective, I think, to probably do this right, we have to be careful. If we take this project on completely, then we need to be sure and we follow our city purchasing procedures, and including if depending on what the costs are, getting into what state law, et cetera, are. So we think this is a great project, and some of you have told me, including former Commissioner Saragusa, that there is an opportunity to solicit donations for this. So I don't have everything worked out, but Commissioner Baker, with you and Commissioner Saragusa and maybe former Commissioner and Park Board Chairman Ron Jansen, we could probably work on this. I've got some options talking to some groups. I'm not ready to go into those details yet, but I think there's groups that would, if we are able to solicit donations, would take those donations and then not be bound by the same rules we are to finish this the way that you guys would like to finish it. So you named the park, the Jerry Allen Memorial Skate Park, some time ago. There's a new concrete pad out there. I know, Corey, do you want to tell them what you're going to do when we can
sure
get
thing.
past the mowing? And we want all this to come together with the sign. Go ahead.
This pad right here, just on the south side of the new portion, so it's on the southern half, easternmost against Fifth Street. There's a nice new concrete pad there that we're going to be relocating the old skate park equipment to. So we'll basically have 2 skate parks in one there. We'll get it all repainted and real looking good. And so it's all the metal, the metal half pipes and the little ramps and the rails and all that will be set right there. So
the idea is that, and congratulations, you're the project manager.
Hey, I get the cool projects.
We need to work on a schedule, and I think probably working with you, Commissioner Baker, and you, Commissioner Saragusa, and Commissioner Ron Jansen, I think we can work on raising private donations to pay for significant or maybe all of this. And so that would be my suggestion, our preference, to try to avoid any issues. We're happy to do it, but sometimes when we do things, we have to follow our process. It'll take longer, it might cost more, and it might not be exactly what folks want, so unless we get the specs right. So I think that's a good approach. Just open to your thoughts. And
I do think, just having had some initial discussions with some folks in the community, people who knew Jerry, I do think either a public-private match, or maybe it does ultimately go private. I don't think it's going to be a real hard thing to put together.
I agree.
I don't think so.
I know at one time when Commissioner, glad to see you, man. Commissioner Saragusa was sitting right here. We were talking about some PACE, Public Arts Commission funding as well to help fund this. You have more insight on that than I did. Do you mind bringing that up?
Well, they had to put it out for bid using PACE monies.
Okay.
So that's why we decided to go private
Private.
donation side.
Okay, because I know.
Same thing with the city purchasing procedures, and that's a problem with using that, and that's why we decided to go
Private.
strictly donation on it.
Okay, all right, I just wanted to get some clarity on that because we had many conversations about it. All right.
so I think let me work with those 3 individuals, and I think that we'll see what we can do. We'll work with Corey, and we'll make this thing come together. So we are committed to doing that. I know you recently updated Park Board, and so that's our efforts.
And I would like to add, when we do get down to the point of dedicating this, having known that rascal for well over 40 years, nobody enjoyed a party more than Jerry Allen. We'll have to throw a big one when we do this dedication.
I'm all for it.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you. All right. With that being said, we are adjourned until 6:30.
I have something else.
Hold on. Wait till we're
Not on the
not.
agenda. Who is responsible for getting 54th Street in shape? They did a wonderful job.
Engineering, Jason,
It does look good.
Engineering did that, and they hired a contractor. You want to just answer that?
Well, thank you, Commissioner. Yeah, that was us. We did that kind of as part of the concrete point repair program of last year. So we had some funds we set aside to specifically dedicated to 54th Street to take care of that project. So.
That street was coming apart at multiple locations before you even did that, and now it's just a smooth ride.
And that was great stewardship, because I don't know do you remember the total cost?
I believe it was 80-something thousand total, the price, or?
Well, for all of that versus multi-millions to redo the whole
Yeah,
thing.
a multi-million-dollar project to do the entire thing. So we did some spot repairs to it, and it made a world of difference. Yeah,
Good.
Thank you, sir.
Anything else? I was a little quick on the trigger, sorry about that. But I get to use my gavel the second time now, so we're adjourned now.